Biztech's APAC Cybersecurity Show. Hello, I'm Brian Fernandez, and we have today Kaspersky, a global cybersecurity company founded in 1997, specializing in antivirus and endpoint protection solutions. It's known for its cutting-edge technology and focus on innovation. It operates in over 200 countries and territories, 34 offices around the world, more than 4,000 specialists, and they protect around 400 million users and 220,000 corporate clients. Now, to tell us more and to update us on the latest developments, we've got Yeo Siang Tiong. He's the General Manager for Southeast Asia and Asia Emerging Markets at Kaspersky. Siang Tiong, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Good to see
Now,
you.
Siang Tiong, could you give us a just quick overview of some key developments and trends around the Asia-Pacific cybersecurity landscape?
Okay. Maybe I'll start with what are the emerging trends that both the vendor as well as the criminals are using.
Okay.
The topic is AI, obviously. AI is a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. So for the criminals, it sharpens their sword. They can now do better coding with the AI. They can now craft better emails. You don't find grammatical errors anymore. You find emotionally relevant emails. And they can crack your password faster, right? Using some smarter AI. On the defender side, like us, we use AI as well to craft rules, to detect them, to see signals, right, in the network and etc., so that we know what is coming and how we can block them. So it cuts both ways. So the first thing is the trend on AI. Second, on the activity in the cybersecurity space is definitely spiking, right? We did a study of the businesses around in APAC last year. And we found that 77% of the respondents say they have at least one incident in the last 2 years. And that sounds very...
That's a huge number.
Exactly. So compared to what you read on our papers, a lot actually got unnoticed. Yes.
But also, Siang Tiong, this is because of the legislative framework. So governments, not all governments are requiring companies to report incidences at the present moment. That, however, is changing because of the legislative framework, particularly out of countries like Singapore.
Right. So yes, there are changes in the legislative framework. We have seen a lot of countries, especially Southeast Asia countries, recently catching up with regulations. Malaysia, for example, just enacted their Cybersecurity Act this year, July timeframe. Singapore had ours in 2018. Recently in August, Singapore also caught up with an operational technology cybersecurity master plan. And then it goes one step further, because today we talk a lot about, when we talk about cybersecurity, we talk a lot about IT side. A lot of people actually are not aware that on the operational technology side, there's also cybersecurity risk. So you can see governments, of course, enacting laws to make sure such things are reported. But as far as it covers the larger industries, it covers the critical industries. It cannot cover every single enterprises.
Now, Siang Tiong, could you then elaborate further on any other developments and trends that you're seeing across the region?
On the vendor front, I see some developments as well. Interestingly, it goes in two different directions. Over the last few years, we have seen a lot of M&A activities. M&A activities is driven by private equities. You see them gobbling up the bigger cybersecurity companies and splitting them, breaking into parts to sell. And that's a very sad thing. I'll talk about that later. The second opposite direction that we are seeing is some vendors who are large enough, they start growing into adjacent space of cybersecurity. Networking folks come into cybersecurity, and they are trying to assemble the assets together. So we see the other direction, the direction driven by private equity to so-called unlock shareholder values, and they break things up, right? And then the bigger companies trying to swallow up all these assets so that they can present a united front.
So this is the interesting thing. So essentially, that's what's feeding the market. There's demand and there's supply being created by the private equity firms.
I will certainly say that there's a lot of excitement created from all this uncertainty, even at the vendor's front.
Okay, and that's going to have an impact, however, also then, interestingly enough, on if I'm a CIO, that's going to weigh in my mind as well.
Yes.
Because a lot of times as a CIO, I want a simplification of my cybersecurity asset management and management of our overall threat defense. Now, if the previous vendor would have come in and said, hey, basically I provide you an end-to-end solution. So
Right.
You deal with one vendor, you have one vendor that's accountable. Then suddenly you see, hey, I have to deal with 3 different vendors. And that then creates a discomfort among users.
Yes, it does. But there's a slightly different approach in the security space. The conventional wisdom in the security space is security by layering. Basically, what you are saying is, for example, if it takes to penetrate, to get into your organization through, say, 3 different layers, and I will purposely choose 3 different vendors. So the 3 different layers, right?
Yes.
So you think of this like a kueh lapis.
Yes.
The top layer has a hole in a certain space of that layer. The middle layer has some holes,
but somewhere else
don't align.
Yes.
So the possibility of a hacker penetrating through that is lower.
Again, that's a very good analogy to explain how, again, we should be looking at this problem.
Yeah. But I want to point out that we are seeing that change in the last few years as well. Because what we saw was the criminals are getting smarter. They don't come in a unidirectional space. Right? So we usually segment out the criminals into 2 different segments. The run-of-the-mill stuff. They are responsible for the 90%, 95% of the attacks. They probably use a single vector attack, single dimensional.
Okay.
So they can come in with a simple ransomware. Once it gets in, it locks up your hard disk. That's it. These are the simple malware. Then there are also the organized crime groups. They are very targeted. They know who they are looking for, and they come in multiple angles to attack a company. And in those scenarios, you will find that kueh lapis, the conventional way of layering security, no longer holds.
Okay.
So actually, the later trend that we see was the companies, a lot of security companies are trying to put all this together so that they can hear the anomalies, right, in the network, the anomalies in the server, the anomalies in the chat, the anomalies in the email, try to piece this together in a fuller picture to understand whether they have been attacked. And that requires the vendor to be able to assemble assets from across different security domains.
Okay, so if I'm a CIO, then how can you help me? in this threat landscape in 2024, 2025, in this complex landscape, yours, Kaspersky, uh, a leader in this field who's been around for a long time, walk us through how you can help me if
Okay,
I'm a large conglomerate in particular.
so if you're a large conglomerate, we will start by engaging you in a conversation of what is most important to you. But invariably, most customers will go down this path. They will start by protecting their devices, and that includes your laptop and your PCs and your mobile devices, including mobile devices, because the trend of BYOD is here to stay. And then they go down the track of protecting the network. So that's the firewall, the IDS, and etc. And the third thing they do is they need to put in the sensors in all these places to now pull this together and be able to monitor and correlate some of these events together, right? And then when they get mature to this stage, they look at threat intelligence, learning what other people are experiencing and quickly beefing up their own defense. Right? So for example, you may be other parts of, say, in the banking sector, in say the Western countries, they may be getting attacked with this kind of pattern. It hasn't come to Asia yet. Start doing the defense. So this is looking ahead. So you can see that a company maturing across the technology curve this way. But I also will emphasize to the conglomerate or the large enterprise that they need to beef up their human talent in step. It needs to be lockstep. There's no point giving you a technology when you do not know how to use it.
And Siang Tiong, I want to add to that. I think one of the key things I've gathered from our previous shows talking to leaders like you is really the human element. Yes, it's very, very important. You need to upskill the talent, build your own timber, of course, supplement that with vendors and all that. But really, your own timber around cybersecurity needs to be continually upskilled. But then again, not just your cybersecurity talent, but really across the various enterprises. And now we'll continue on in this mode of the conglomerate with 200 companies across the different industries, really to make sure that they go through regular cybersecurity drills.
Yes.
So they understand what they really need to do, recognizing the emails they should not be clicking on, and then repeating the process so it becomes muscle memory. Could you then, Siang Tiong, elaborate, given your regional footprint and lens, some best practices that we can follow?
Okay, I will say you touch a very important point, which is awareness. But a lot of people, when they say awareness, they talk about the IT users, the people who are using the email. Oh, don't click on the link and all that. For us sitting in Singapore, you have seen that the government has done a lot to campaign this. Don't click on links, don't click on links and all that. But awareness of the individual IT user aside, awareness and the corporate memory is actually very important. And that cannot happen unless people at the C level see it as their responsibility, right? Because of all the past accounting fraudulent practices, these days in the board level, you have a risk group who will look at financial risk.
Yes.
But not many, till today, there are still a lot of board who doesn't have a cybersecurity risk focus on.
That's a very good point.
Right. So we seldom see a separate cybersecurity risk group. In fact, even within the risk subgroup of the board level, we don't see cybersecurity being floated up as a point that this group should be looking at. And this needs to start at the board level down. They need to understand that cybersecurity is no longer outsourced to the IT folks in the company, outsourced to whichever vendor you can place your blame on, and whatever service provider you can just pull your strings on. No. They need to understand, because of this transformation that's happening across the board, right? The digital transformation is happening across the board. And especially if you're talking about large conglomerates, there is a lot of digital connections. And if they do not understand that all this needs to be secure, someone needs to be monitoring, someone needs to be knowing what to do with all this, and they keep themselves out of this sphere, then it's very, very dangerous. So we have seen company, the more forward-looking companies, they will have policies, they will run regular compromise assessment, they will run regular board-level conversations on how to prevent attacks and how to respond to attacks. The reality is somehow that you need to plan for a possible attack and how to respond to it.
Yeah, you need to have a playbook, because you can't be thinking about solutions when it happens. A playbook needs to be written and the scenarios done well before it happens.
Correct. So such playbooks needs to be established, exactly as what you say, and drills need to be done. We have seen companies done drills, disaster recovery drills, consistently every year.
Yes.
Not many companies run cybersecurity drills. Even tabletop exercise to understand who play what role when there's an attack or when there's a compromise. You will see a company scrambling when such a thing happens. Yeah.
Now, Siang Tiong, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about also, which is a concern of CIOs more and more I see in the last 12 months, is really the vulnerabilities associated with old equipment that perhaps they have forgotten that is still linked to the system. Walk us through that. And we're not talking just about servers, it's about in a manufacturing environment, old machinery and stuff like that, which now the bad actors are starting to target, especially when you are connecting these through IoT, third-party devices, or so forth. Walk us through that, because that's really an area that I think is neglected in terms of attention.
So you actually brought up two areas. One is old system in the IT side. You also mentioned machines in the manufacturing side. That's actually operational technology side. So I'll answer both. In the IT front, the constant update of your machines, knowing actually where are your machines, and updating that is very important. Patching them is very important. The reality is today, a lot of things are digitally driven. There's so many connecting parts. For the people who in the IT sector, they know these things happen, but it sounds appalling to the non-IT people. You actually do not know where are your things.
Yes.
So this is the problem, right? Having a good knowledge, a system to pull and get a regular updates of where are your stuff is actually important. And there are tools around that. That's fine. And of course, there needs to be a conscientious effort to constantly patch it when there are new things coming. And that needs to be in the policy, that needs to be very deliberately executed regularly. Now, on the second part, which is the operational technology side, a lot of manufacturing plants are actually run by machines, by IT machines.
Yes.
They used to be disconnected, but these days they are connected because the staff wants to be able to remotely control it. The vendors for all these machineries are asking for that connection so that they can value add by remotely hacking you, or by remotely updating the machines, or by remotely collecting statistics, information, so they can enhance it. I mean, there's also AI that's happening in this space.
Yes.
Right? So connecting it up is becoming a must. It used to be a situation where the manufacturing systems are air-gapped, meaning they are not connected at all. You literally need the operator to be physically walking up to the machine to do the changes. But these days, that's no longer the case. Now, when it happens, then that will be another vector that can be attacked. Many years ago, there was an attack in one of the large supermarket chain in US. They lost almost all their credit, the customer information. And the hackers came through the HVAC system, the heating, ventilation, and aircon system.
Okay.
Nobody will think about protecting that system.
Yes.
The hackers came through that.
Now, Siang Tiong, we're coming up to 2025. What are Kaspersky's plans in the coming years, and what sort of innovations are you coming up with in terms of your solution offerings for clients?
Okay, so on the local front, where I'm taking care of Southeast Asia and the Asian emerging countries, we are grouping similar countries together and installing our leaders to make sure that we have the right focus on the countries. Over the last 5-6 years that I've been with this company, we have literally doubled our headcount, and we'll continue to double down and grow. In terms of the technology that we offer to the region, we continue to bring new things, right? And you can see that we are bringing, through the 27 years that we have in being, we have now introduced a very broad portfolio of solutions, ranging from endpoint protection, the server, the PC, the laptop, to the network protection, to the monitoring and correlation, into the threat intelligence, into the training, that full spread of knowledge that we come to bear and we bring to the world. That goes back to the security by layering, moving into a monolith, is a fewer vendor strategy, so that with us, you get your signals, the telemetries, the tech signals from your network, from your devices, from your server, whether it's on-prem, off-prem, from your email, from all this telemetry, we could group it together, and then we can analyze and understand what's happening and provide you with the signals. So these are new things that we have introduced over the last few years, and we see a very fast pickup in this space. Yeah. In the more mature countries like Singapore and Malaysia, we are also beginning to see the board awareness. And so drills, tabletop exercises, assessments are becoming the norm for us as well.
Siang Tiong, it's been a pleasure, and thank you very much for the updates. I've actually learned a lot. I'm going to do a little bit more research thanks to our conversation. Thanks for taking your time to be on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Brian. Have a good day ahead.
We've been speaking to Yeo Siang Tiong. He's the General Manager for Southeast Asia and Asia Emerging Markets at Kaspersky. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to Biztech's APAC Cybersecurity Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.